Love, live, life. Life can be glorious and hideous. Stick your feet to the ground, but don't think you are counted out. Don't let the wind pull you and tear you apart. Let yourself live freely and love, and you'll be happy. No limits. Just keep on.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another IronWill podcast with me, Shane Warner, and
John Chase.
So what this podcast is all about is we are trying to get stories from people that have been through a traumatic experience in their lives and came out a different person.
Yeah, they have all created an iron will. So what is an iron will? A burning determination that cannot be stopped or hindered by anything, willing to do anything to get a desired outcome, extremely resilient. So what we like to say is just keep punching.
Yeah. So sit back and relax, and we're going to start the show. So I want to talk to you about that. Like,
is his levels okay? You
yes,
already checked him? Yeah. Wow,
so I want to talk to you about that. Like, I listened to a podcast you did with John Bush, and you were talking about losing your job. And can you kind of explain what happened with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm thinking about how long it started to go, like 3-4 months ago. I worked for Kaiser Permanente, and they, like a lot of healthcare industries nationwide, as well as I think they're starting to do it with like school teachers and other things, just basically stated that if you did not get vaccinated, or if you did not get vaccinated for whatever reason, whether it was medical exemption or religious exemption, you would be placed in the two categories. One would be vaccinated and the other would be unvaccinated. The unvaccinated would have to submit to twice a week testing. And with which I felt was
a little much,
a little invasive.
Discrimination to invasion or against Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. On many accounts, but as well as just the whole thing, the testing, the vaccination, kind of it goes against my spiritual, moral, and ethical belief. Sure.
And so, I applaud you for taking that stance.
Yeah, man.
That's a really hard thing to like commit to that decision.
Well, and I think, I mean, regardless if someone wants to or not, it should still be choice.
Oh yeah.
And you should allow either way. If you know, as a place of employment, you shouldn't force anyone to do, you know, to do something that they don't want to do.
Yep.
Or put something in their body they don't want to.
So I didn't really introduce you yet, but today we're talking to Owen Johnston, and we know him from the Real group.
Real community, yeah.
And so can
Real
you kind of explain what Real is?
Yeah, for sure. So Real is REYL. It's recommit every day that you live. We're a men's group community that helps lift and uplift, inspire, influence, educate each other, really through our experiences, to help elevate our lives as fathers, as brothers, as friends, just as men in general, so that we can show up in the world better people. And I feel like it's lacking in this in this world right now. I mean, you watch all the media, you watch movies, they portray men, and especially fathers, as idiots.
Yeah,
like just they're dumb, they're stupid, they're you know, whatever you want to.
And even as far as Owen goes, like your decision to not get vaccinated or whatever, that takes a masculine person to do that, and the right kind of masculinity, obviously. But so can you kind of talk about where you're from a little bit, and
a little
so
background.
We can get some background. Yeah,
like kind of where you grew up and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm Dr. Owen Johnston. I'm a physical therapist. I grew up in a small town called San Ynez, right next to a little Danish town called Solvang, a little north of Santa Barbara in California.
Okay.
I went out I moved out to the Central Valley of California, and I went to College of Sequoias in Visalia for community college, and then transferred to Fresno State and did my undergraduate and graduate coursework at Fresno State. Then I moved back to the Central Coast. I liked it a little bit better over there for my first physical therapy job in an outpatient clinic. And I worked there for a number of years and bought a house there and was working on remodeling it. And my buddy that lived down here in San Diego, California, said, hey, we got this new total joint program. We need like 10 therapists at Kaiser, and this is never going to happen again. You should get down here. And I was like, well, now's not a good time. I was in the middle of a home remodel, and I was like, but I can make it happen. He was like, I would suggest you make it happen. And so I said, okay, let's do it. So I made it happen. Went through a really tough year of going back home and finishing the remodel on weekends, and then going down to San Diego. It was about 5.5 hours drive, and like leaving at 3:30 in the morning on Sundays to make it to work, and then coming back. And it was pretty rough. But I did it because Kaiser, as far as a physical therapist was concerned, everything was maximized. Pay, benefits, retirement, pension, continuing education. Everything was the best with them. So it was the best physical therapy job I could possibly get. So it was worth that struggle of that year to get comfortable.
Right. Wow. That's And then we look at how much you just kind of made that sound. Just it was awesome. But then you gave that up in order to exercise your right.
Yes.
That's actually quite impressive.
Yeah.
That's cool. What?
Interestingly enough.
Go ahead.
Well, interestingly enough, what I had to kind of come to terms with was, I thought that I'd moved down here to work for Kaiser, and what I've actually found was I moved down here to meet my fiance Jen, because I met her soon after. We didn't start dating for like a year and a half, but Kaiser was always going to be a stepping stone, I feel, but meeting her was the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, and continues to make me a better person and show up daily. But leaving Kaiser, that helped me just figuring that one out and knowing that, as well as having to take a stand. And then the future is looking great with taking that stand. I feel like they call it the golden handcuffs, and the golden handcuffs because you're stuck there, because they're the best that you're going to get for any healthcare worker that it is. They pay the best, they have everything the best. So how do you get out of the golden handcuffs? Well, you let the jailers take them off and kick you out. Yeah. So that's essentially what happened to me. And I decided, like, well, am I going to just die and burn out, or am I going to rise above like a phoenix from the ashes? And that's what I decided to do.
Yes.
I want to mention a quote by Shakespeare. It's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And Ryan Holiday talks about that in his book, The Obstacle is the Way. And he's speaking about perception right there. The obstacle is in our minds, and therefore so is the solution. So it's your perception that affects the way you think about a certain event. And so you could have taken that one of two ways. Like, you could have felt almost discriminated against or whatever. You could have used it in that way, but you chose to use it in a positive way. And that's really important, because it's all about our perceptions, Yeah.
He chose to rise up from those ashes and become, like a phoenix, like he said. That's awesome. So we're going to start calling you the Phoenix from here on out.
I'm totally fine with that.
That's awesome. In terms of, did you know like that you wanted to go into physical therapy from the very beginning? Like when did that spark kind of get in you? Were you a child, or did it happen more in college?
Was it an injury or what?
Yeah. What drove that path?
So I feel like the initial spark of it was when I was 15 years old. I was out hiking with some friends, and I fell off of a cliff, probably about 45 feet, and I severely injured myself. But sliding down the cliff, it was made of sandstone, so it just took all my skin off my hands, my fingers, my stomach, my leg.
Oh, man.
And upon impact, I hit my leg on a tree branch before hitting the ground, and it snapped my fib, so my leg it was just completely sideways. and I had to get like helicoptered out and all this stuff, and
Wow.
I was on crutches for 6 months. And the greatest thing that ever happened to me was, first of all, when I was able to walk again, I was so grateful, so happy that I could just walk, because you don't know what you have until it's gone. And then the second greatest thing was when I was able to join my wrestling team that season on the mats. I wasn't able to do cross country season that year, because I couldn't run, obviously, on crutches for 6 months. But playing sports has always been, and being active has always played a big role in my life.
Yeah.
And so that, with that in mind, when I was 18, I woke up one day and my life was kind of a mess, and I was just like, I want to be a physical therapist. And I didn't know what quite that entailed, but I just knew that they got paid pretty good. They could live wherever they wanted, and they got to give the gift of getting someone back to being able to function the way they want to, like walking or wrestling team. So it was kind of like killing 3 birds with one stone, because people say if you do what you love, then you never work a day in your life. So that's what I felt like was my calling. So that's what I just went for it.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, we've all been affected positively by physical therapists. I know Shane sure has. And that spark, that inspiration, I'm so glad that you went after it. That's really beneficial for all of us, because we need good quality physical therapists out there. So, what did you do? So you wrestled. You said you did some wrestling. You did cross country before that. That was kind of a cross country. Did you play any other sports? Were you into? Yeah.
When I was in high school, I did 3 sports a year. I did cross country, wrestling, and track. Okay. So what'd you do in track? Sorry. I was a pole vaulter. Pole vaulter was my favorite of all times. Every sport included. It was just the greatest thing ever, and that's probably why I do all the hand balancing and circus stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. That takes some guts. I've never tried it. We're gonna have to meet sometime, Owen, and you're gonna have to show me some moves. Because dude, I always wanted to do that. I never did. You know, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So, what kind of fun stuff was there to do growing up in you said you were born near the coast, right?
Yeah.
But then you moved central. What's the difference? I mean, I've been to California multiple times, but you know, in terms of coastal living versus like redwood trees. I mean, did you go towards the trees? I mean, like, tell me about kind of your experience as a child.
Sure. Well, growing up on the Central Coast, it was a small town. So it was a very small town, like 3,000 people or so in San Ynez. I was a skateboarder. I got really into skateboarding. So most of the time when I was at school, I was skateboarding, or I played a lot of video games when I was a kid too. So I was either skateboarding or playing video games if I wasn't at school as a kid. It was a real nice area. Everybody kind of knew each other. The police force was pretty much non-existent, because there was pretty much no crime. It was illegal to be homeless there. So if there was a homeless person, they'd pick them up, take them to the shelter in Santa Barbara. Contrasting to growing up there and then moving to the Central Valley of California was completely different. I moved out there. It was cheap to live there. It was like a quarter or a third of the cost. And I was like, well, this is amazing. But I feel like I ended up paying that back in like electric PG&E bills with the AC during the summer, because it's very hot.
Sure, because you don't get the coastal wind and
Yep, as well as all the crime. Like there was a drive-by shooting. I got 2 of my windows shot out with 1 bullet. I got held up at a liquor store. I got probably 2 or 3 laptops stolen from me. Another window busted in, and my stereo stolen from a different car. So there was a lot of trials and tribulations there. Aside from the weather.
Well, it's like the complete opposite of where you lived growing up, you know. Like you said, that crime was basically not existent where you grew up. And moving to that situation, that's got to be like a culture shock almost.
Yeah, it totally was. Like, I forgot to even mention the first job that I was doing there was a pizza delivery driver for Domino's Pizza. And when I was living on the coast, I did the same thing at one point. And you would just leave your cars running. When you'd go drop off the pizza, when you come back to the store to go get another run, you leave your car running. I did that my first day or two. We're delivering pizza right outside the store.
Yeah.
Someone hopped in it, tried to steal it,
course
and I
they
almost
did.
lost my truck that night.